Okay, we're getting ready to start Unit 2. Unit 2 is a foundational unit to things that you're going to learn in grade 10 and 11 in terms of relations, functions, graphing. There's a lot of really important concepts in here. In order to really be successful in Unit 2, you do have to have some basic equipment. One of the most important things you need to have is a ruler. Okay? You'd be surprised the number of people that don't have one of these. It's a really handy tool. I'm going to be using one when I'm drawing the straight lines we're going to use today. The other thing you should have is a store of graph paper. Notice it has graph lines on it. You're going to be doing a lot of graphing by hand. And with graphing by hand, you're going to find that it's really important to have the correct paper, or else you're not going to be able to do any interpolation and extrapolation and finding values that you need, that kind of thing. So please, as we get ready to start this, take a trip to a store, pick up a ruler, pick up some graph paper. It will be very useful for you. So the very first thing we're going to do to introduce this unit is we're going to just refresh our abilities to plot coordinates and graph straight lines. Okay, so coordinates are ordered pairs that tell the location of a point on a coordinate grid. A coordinate grid looks like that. Okay, that's what a coordinate grid looks like. So they're ordered pairs that tell you a location. They're always in, they're always in the format X, Y. So they're always two values. They're a pair, okay, so that means you have two values, one of which is the X value and one of which is the Y value. The X value always comes first, okay? And that's really, really important. If you get those mixed up, you start graphing them in the wrong places, it can take you down in terms of how you're doing in this unit. If you start mixing up your X's and Y's, your slopes are wrong, your lines go the wrong direction, calculations come out incorrectly. So the very first thing you have to be really certain of is that you've got your ordered pairs correct and you understand which coordinate is first. In this case, it's always the X coordinate. An axis, okay, this is your vertical or horizontal kind of baseline. And this is, of course, where y equals 0 or x equals 0. And so let's look down here. We'll put these on here as well. Okay, this line here, this is the x-axis. The x-axis is horizontal. Okay, and all on that line, the values of y equals 0. So anywhere a point is on that line, it has a y value of 0, and that would be on the x-axis. So if that's the x-axis, then this must be the y-axis, where x equals 0. And we always put those on our coordinate grid, and then you number them appropriately. Okay? So a table of values is an organized set of coordinates an organized set of coordinates that you can then put onto a coordinate grid or a graph. And a linear equation is an equation that when graphed results in a straight line. Okay, results in a straight line. So, I know that my page and your page don't look exactly alike. That's because when the pages get transformed to PDF for the program I'm using, sometimes the formatting of images gets a bit strange. So you just have to do your best to make sure that you match up the information I'm putting on with the information that you need on your note. So let's take a look. Okay, we need all three of these. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Okay. So we've got a table of values, a graph, and an equation. So this here is the table of values. This is the equation, and this, of course, is the graph. So let's think about how we're going to put these ideas together. The reality is a linear relation can be shown as an equation, as a table of values, or as a graph, and they're all representing the same thing. So I'm going to show you a way that they all link together. So I'm going to use the equation to build a table of values. From the table of values, I'm going to put those coordinates on the graph, and we're going to see what it looks like. So in order to produce some coordinates, I have to substitute values of x into the equation. What values of x? Whatever ones you want. I'm going to use a specific set, and I'll use these a lot throughout this unit. I'm going to use -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And I'm going to take this step to put them straight into the table of values. So the table of values, remember how I said the coordinates, and they're in brackets, and on that side's the x and on that side's the y. So we put the table of values the exact same way. The x is always on the left, so this is x, and that's y. So I'm going to say if x is -2, -1, 0, 1, or 2. Those are the values I chose for x. So now I have to see what happens to y with those values of x. So let's start working this out. If x equals -2, y equals 2 times -2 minus 2. Right? Because I substituted for x in the equation. So 2 times -2 is -4 minus 2. Y equals -6. So the y value is -6. Let's do a couple more. If x equals -1, y equals 2 times -1 minus 2. 2 times -1 is -2. -2, we've got -4. Okay, so when x equals -1, y equals -4. So for every unique x value, we are going to have one unique y value. That's actually the definition of something called a function, which is going to be a really important topic in 2D and 3U and forward into your grade 12 math courses. So we're going to be working with functions. We will explore some non-function relationships as well, but a lot of what we're going to deal with are going to be functions. So what if x equals 0? Y equals 2 times 0 minus 2. Y equals 0 minus 2. Y equals -2. Right there, -2. So I'm not going to write out the next two. I'm going to do them in my head. If x equals 1, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, and if x equals 2, 2 times 2 is 4, minus 2 is 2. So I can see you thinking, great, how does this help? Well, let's put this onto the graph. So this table of values lets us create our coordinate points like this, -2, -6, -1, -4, 0, -2, 1, 0, and 2, 2. You'll notice the x value is always on the left. As I said, that's very, very important because you always start with the x value. So let's put these points on the graph. Okay, let's put these points on the graph. So let's put point number 1. Ooh, do that. Point number 1 is going to be -2, -6. So we start on the x. We go to -2 on the x. Actually, let me just change color here for a second. So I'm going to go to -2. I'm going to start from 0, 0. That's the origin. I'm going to go -2 on the x, and then -6 on the y. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I'm going to, okay, right there. That's point 1. Let's look at point 2. -1 is here. -4 is there. Okay. So you always start by starting at 0, 0, go over to the x value, and then go to the y value. So in this case, 0 is the x value, which is right in the center, and -2 is right there. So that's our third point. Then we have 1, 0, which is there, and 2, 2, which is there. So I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to show you what happens when you join these together. Okay. So I've created a straight line. I've created a linear relation. I know it's linear because it makes a straight line. That's what linear means. And if you look at the way I've drawn that, I've put arrows on either side of the line. And I've done that for a very specific reason. It's because that line continues. Any value of x will give me a value of y. So the linear relation itself is infinite. The points that I selected aren't, but the relation is. So when you draw your relation, you should add the arrows on both sides to indicate that it is infinite.